Hello everybody, and welcome to session number 6 titled Remote Management. Our objectives for this lesson is to understand what is remote management, and we will learn how to configure remote management. So what is a centralized remote management service? Normally, appliance configuration will be performed using its local configuration portal, my.firewall, or the IP address. When we apply the remote management service in a plan for a gateway object, it means that a service provider is empowered to centrally manage every aspect of the appliance configuration from the SMP. In a sense, anything you can do locally in the appliance, you can do from the management side. This helps us save time and manage everything centrally, whether it's common configurations per gateway, and push policies to thousands of gateway at a click of a button. So let's compare a bit between remote management and local management. Let's talk about local management. The target customers are experienced, knowledgeable, and capable of setting up their own network. In turn, remote management is for customers who don't want to mess around with the appliance and trust you to do everything for them from a central location. You don't even have to log into the appliance in order to push different configurations. The goals for local management is to provide only services, and all configuration is performed locally. So in a sense, the SMP will become a subscription center or a service center that would only push the updates for vSTREAM antivirus, for URL filtering, and other security options. From a remote management standpoint, you actually provide everything. Aside from the antivirus, the URL filtering, anti-spam, and so on, you would actually provide all the services. So you would add a network, remove a network, add a security policy, or remove a security policy, all from a single location. In terms of deployment method and security enforcement, in a local management, all configuration is performed locally, and it requires a local technician access to the appliance for ongoing maintenance and constant backup of configuration. In a remote management environment, configuration is managed centrally, settings are enforced from the service center, enables efficient large-scale deployment for businesses of any size and geographical dispersed. What are the advantages of remote management? First of all, it's cost-effective for initial deployment. You can set up the SMP before even shipping the appliance to your customer. Once the appliance phones home or connects to the management, it downloads all the configuration and they're done and can start working. It has a reduced cost of ongoing support. Again, everything can be done from the management, click of a button, and it's pushed to the appliance. It's quick for disaster recovery. If the appliance goes bad, malfunctions, whatever, you should send them a replacement, they plug in and connect to the SMP and download again all the configuration you've done in the past. It provides 24/7 security and setting enforcement. So as long as the appliance connects to the internet and connected to the SMP, the information is there and the security is enforced. It's better business opportunities for MSSPs. Remote management enables additional value-added services such as dynamic VPN or dynamic DNS and so on. Increased customer loyalty and sales. The customer needs to be connected to the SMP to get all the updates. If they're not connected, they're not getting it. So in order to connect, they need to pay the MSP or the MSSP, and that's how the revenue keeps on coming in. And you can personalize and do some branding. So you can display your own logos, messages, and graphics in the local configuration portal of the appliance, the main page, the hotspot, the website access denied, and of course the different reports. Let's talk now a bit on how you configure remote management. Some concepts. Availability of settings. Available in plans with remote management service selected, and available for gateways assigned with remote management plans. Format and terminology. Remote management settings names, terminology, and wizards on SMP are the same or very similar to what you can find locally on the appliance configuration pages. So in a sense, once you know the appliance, you can work with the management. If you know the management, you can work with the appliance. There's no need to learn management on one hand and then learn the local configuration on another hand. Use of settings. Gateway objects initially inherit remote management settings from the plans they are assigned with. This makes gateways locked to plan. In order to control remote management settings for individual gateways, they must be unlocked from plan first. So in a sense, once the gateway inherits all the information from the plan and there's a specific things that is different from the general profile, you can unlock it from plan. It would still keep all the configuration, but then you can remove or add certain aspects of that configuration. Granularity of configuration. Gateway settings are either remotely managed or locally managed. Even when a gateway is assigned a remote management plan, only selected settings become remotely managed, not all settings. Settings that are not remotely managed remain locally managed. If a setting is not reflected in the SMP interfaces, it can be remotely managed by injecting a CLI command. What this means is that you can do everything from the SMP. Even if you don't have a GUI for it, you can do it by injecting a CLI script. Types of remote management settings. Service-dependent settings are available only with specific services. For example, dynamic VPN settings, centralized email scanning, centralized web filtering service, and vStream antivirus. All other settings affecting appliance local configuration. Security settings, smart defense, network settings, high availability settings, wireless, and many, many more. Settings not dependent on remote management, not affecting appliance local configuration, dynamic DNS, vulnerability scanning, and software updates. Remote management settings are available in plans and gateways assigned with remote management plan. Configuration is about understanding the settings and options tree and how they affect the local Cepheid Office configuration portal. Let's go over some of the configurations that are available from the central management, the SMP. In the setup category in the SMP, you can manage the management protocols, the syslog, radius, license scheme, date and time, for example, time servers and so on, CLI script, user interface, remote desktop, internal DNS server, and so on and so on. In the security, you can manage the security level, the security policy, the security firewall rules, hotspots, and NAT. In the smart defense, which is the checkpoint subset of IPS, you can manage all these different layer 4 to 7 protections. In terms of the vStream antivirus, you can manage the policy. In the anti-spam, the same thing, the policy, the content-based settings, the different engines that are working in the anti-spam, and so on. In terms of email filtering, which is the email proxy, actually each email goes through the SMP scan and then sent back to the host. You can manage that. Web filtering, in terms of centralized web filtering, the local web rules, the block site, you can actually edit what information the user will see when he's blocked. In terms of local network settings, add network, remove networks, bridges, traffic shaping, network objects, static routes, and so on and so on and so on. In terms of VPN, the local VPN server, or create a site-to-site VPN. This concludes session number 6. Please take the time to complete lab 5 and 6 on book number 3, and please join us for a session number 7 called Software Updates. Thank you for your time.